And we're back.
Woohoo!
We are back with the Auto Authorities Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jay Grossman. I'm the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars. And this is my wonderful co-host, Dr. David Marks. Oh, wait, is he a doctor? Yes, he is. He's a doctor of mechanics. And speaking of mechanics, we have a show for you today, don't we, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely, we do. This is a great one.
It is going to be an incredible one because this involves you. Yes, you who's listening right now, because we have a problem on our hands, don't we?
We have a major problem that's going to affect everybody.
It's about electric vehicles, and you're like, oh, I don't need an electric vehicle. Well, you may not need an electric vehicle, but hint, hint, there's something with this electric vehicle crisis that's going on that's going to affect you. You ready to do this, Mr. David Marks?
Absolutely.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride when buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the podcast that tells you what to watch out for, whether you're buying, selling,
or repairing your car.
With 47 years of automotive experience, we are the Automotive Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent. We're real estate agents for cars.
And Quality Auto STL. Trusted services with no surprises.
Boom!
Booyah!
All right. Well, welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. We have a huge show for you today. It's about electric vehicles, and you're like, well, I don't know if I'm interested in electric vehicles, but you're going to be interested on how this electric vehicle, I'm going to call it a crisis, potentially, is going to affect you. But before we get going, I'd like to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com, where the I stands for integrity. They are real estate agents for people's cars. They will sell your car. You don't do anything. They will market, list, and show your car at no cost to you. And they will help you navigate the entire buying process and do it all for you. And this is Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, trusted services with no surprises. And if you are just tuning in and you are on YouTube, please click the subscribe button so you can get alerted for all our amazing podcasts, and the notification button. You can also get notified for our podcast. And then if you are on Facebook, click the join Facebook group button, and you can watch our pretty faces live at 9 p.m. Central Time on Facebook. But if you don't know this by now, we have an amazing website that's completely interactive with our audience. It's called theautoauthorities.com. That's theautoauthorities.com. And you could actually leave comments for us because we're going to have a contest coming up. Stay tuned for the details because you could win a very, very big prize, can't you? Mr.
I like contests, Jay. I want to win.
Well, you're involved in it, so we're going to tell everybody. And speaking of surprises, there's a surprise at the end because we have a free gift for you for just listening to our podcast. Stay tuned, and we'll tell you what it is. But let's get right into this, Mr. David Marks. Let's talk about electric vehicles. Let's talk about what is going on right now.
There's a lot going on. We got the legacy, what they call the legacy automakers are getting involved. GM is building 2 new factories for EVs. They're retooling 2 existing, and they want to spend $35 billion through 2025 on EV production. Ford is building 3 new factories between Kentucky and Tennessee. And Tennessee, they call it their Blue Oval City. It's a $5.6 billion project for EV production. And then on top of that, we got Putin's war in Ukraine, and this is all going to affect EV production.
Absolutely. And that is the little wrench in our parade because now, like with these high gas prices, everybody's kind of starting thinking a lot more about electric vehicles or EVs. What do you think? What is that going to do?
I mean, it's supply and demand is in fact. Well, right now, China dominates the supply chain for EV. Tesla, they source. Uh, there's my these are I had to
I
bring
know
them
what you're
up
saying.
here.
So basically, Tesla's been sourcing some different things, but let's talk about the ripple effect, because this is what I want to talk about: is how these manufacturers now, GM, Ford, the big ones, VW, they're
VW
all
King,
wanting to get into
Toyota's King.
they're all wanting to go into EVs. So we've talked about this before. When the supply goes down, demand goes up, prices go.
Through the roof. Yeah, because we're going to have a big demand. I mean, basically, so all these materials are mined from different parts of the world, and they go to China for refining, just like oil. We have oil refineries to turn crude oil into gasoline and the different petroleum products that we need. Well, China right now owns the refining market, so everybody is dependent on China to help with EV battery production, and that's going to cause the price to go up.
It absolutely is. And again, we consistently are depending on other countries to provide us the things that we need as a country to, just to survive sometimes. I mean,
Yeah,
we're going to get into some really, really crazy stuff towards the end of this, as
sure.
far as how it's going to affect every single person in this country. I promise you, you listen to the end, you may fall out of your seat when you hear why this is going to affect you. And so now let's talk about sourcing, because when we talk about sourcing is like, where do we get these metals? Well, Russia and the Ukraine invasion has really put a damper on things, because Russia has a lot of these metals, and China. And so the manufacturers like Ford and GM and VW, they came up with this great idea that, okay, well, we'll source it on our own, and we'll go to our own places to source it. Well, there's only a certain amount of places in the world to source it. So what's going to happen, Mr. David Marks?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a bidding war on these sources. I mean, we talked about it. Russia has been the third largest producer of nickel, which is a main key component in batteries in general. I mean, this affects more than just automotive. This affects battery production as a
Well,
whole.
yeah. And here's the thing. When you talk about a bidding war, if you're looking for a side hustle, you might want to go start some type of a
A
metal
lithium mine.
refinery.
If you
Yeah,
got
a
lithium in
mine.
your backyard, you got a license to print money.
I mean, really, it's almost like, I don't know. I mean, do you think it could be something like a gold rush type of
I think
thing?
it's gonna be a gold rush.
Yeah.
There's a couple of companies, some former Tesla executives that have started, battery recycling companies to recycle batteries to reuse. However, that's just putting a band-aid on a huge bleeding ulcer. They're nowhere near scale, so this is going to be, I mean, the biggest kicker in this is, I go back to it, is Putin's war with Ukraine. We don't know how this is going to affect the global supply chain long term. We have no idea. And I think that's going to make the market highly volatile, and it's going to continue to be volatile. It's going to go up and down like oil has gone up and down.
I mean, when you think about it, think about how much money that GM and Ford are putting into these new plants. Like, we're talking
Billions.
billions, like $35 billion. Like, that's an insane amount of money. So my question is, and I have my opinions, and I've been saying this since day one, we've got Tesla, and Tesla is a battery company. That's what Tesla
We're
is.
a technology company.
And so now, what is this going to do now that all these mainstreamers are getting into electric vehicles? Because eventually, I think things are going to be fine. But what's going to happen to Tesla in this time? Do you think?
I mean, his stock price is going to go down because he's going to lose market share. Typically, right now, I think he's got about 75. We're talking U.S. market share. 75 of the EV sales go to Tesla, but as the legacies, the big boys get involved, GM, Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen Auto Group, Mercedes Benz, and they start pumping them out, they're going to take away market share from him. It's going to be a bidding war on all these raw materials. I mean, because prior, Ford and GM were using third party suppliers for the EVs. Well, when they bring that in house because they want to control it, that's just there's gonna be a bigger demand, less supply, and the price is gonna go up.
Yeah,
And it's
and
gonna put a big dent on Tesla. I mean, if you want to invest in Tesla, now's the time because this bubble's gonna burst here in the next few years. That's what I predict.
yeah, I do too. And I even said this, and people thought I was crazy. I've said this several years ago when they started talking about the EVs, and I'm like, well, wait till the manufacturers like GM and Ford and Volkswagen they get into this. This game's going to be over for
Well, here's
Tesla.
something that
I think.
a lot of people. So you got Rivian. Ford has a 12% stake in Rivian.
Well,
Okay, so now and they were going to do some joint EV production, and that got squashed. Okay, because they were going to co-produce EVs, and that deal fell through. But Ford still has that 12% stake. So how is that going to affect EV production for both companies? Because Rivion's still kind of in the startup phase. Their stock prices got down because they haven't got up to capacity like they predicted. But that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out with this whole EV supply, because now you got two competitors and one of them's got a big stake in the other.
well, and just exactly like you said, Mr. David Marks, we basically have a pool, or let's call it a lake, and let's just call GM, Ford, Tesla, Rivian, Volkswagen, and some of the other
Toyota.
ones. They're all sharks, and they're all fighting for that same piece of meat. And we're going to talk about this here in the second part of the episode. Is how is this going to affect you? Because even though maybe you don't even like electric vehicle, that's fine, no problem. But we're going to tell you how this is going to affect you, and how it could affect you, your family, your pocketbook, all those things, because of the wonderful ripple effect, which we've talked about in several other episodes. But what the ripple effect is when one thing happens, it triggers another thing and another thing and another thing and another thing, and then it doesn't stop. So there's a lot of questions here that we have as far as all these companies are going in at one time. Who's going to survive? What's going to happen? And I think you're spot on. I think that Tesla's in trouble right now.
They're in big trouble. I mean, he's opened up another gigafactory, about to, in Volkswagen's backyard. He's like 40 miles away from VW's headquarters in Wolfsburg, Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And Volkswagen's own the European market, and Tesla wants a piece of that pie. But as we got to remember, Volkswagen was number 10 on the Fortune World List last year. That means, and no, Toyota was number 9. That means 8 other companies in the world generated more revenue than Toyota and Volkswagen. Well, I mean, they're the big boys. You want to talk about the kings? It's Volkswagen and Toyota. They own the auto industry. GM is third, and then Stellantis, which is Chrysler, Fiat, and PSA, which is a French company. They're number 4. But these guys have deep, 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 deep pockets, and they can spend money at will. I mean, I'm convinced that Tesla cannot outspend Volkswagen's investors, GM's investors, Ford's investors, individually. I think they could outspend him all day long. Same thing with Toyota.
Well, we're definitely going to be talking about in the second part of our episode here is how this is going to affect you. We're going to talk about the prices, the demand, all of that, and how this all plays a part in all of our lives right now. But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com, the real estate agents for cars. They will help sell your car at no cost to you. They'll market, list, and show your car. They will help you buy a car nationwide, navigate the entire process of buying that car. It's a sticky process. And Mr. David Marks with Quality Auto STL, trusted services with no surprises, the best in the business. And we're really, really digging into this electric vehicle crisis right now. And now it's time to get into the good stuff.
Oh, yeah. The meat and potatoes.
So out of all my research and all my knowledge of this, the number one problem that the consumers have with electric vehicles is, what do you think it is?
How much does one cost?
You better believe it is. And that's been one of my concerns. I've had some other concerns too, as far as like how long the batteries will go for, but cost is number one. And because of this ripple effect, costs are going up. So now, everybody sees gas prices going up. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to go get an EV. Well, what has happened now? Demand is up. When demand is up, prices go up. And now demand is up, so supply is going down. We got a little bit of a problem, don't we?
We absolutely do. So, just in doing my own research, the mining and refining controls the market as one of the factors in controlling market value. So, it's no different. It's a commodity, just like a barrel of oil is a commodity. The price fluctuates. Well, mining and refining process, as this demand goes up, consumer demand and manufacturer demand, these mining companies go, well, we can charge more for this now. Who's going to be the highest bidder? I mean, we've talked about this. It's in, I read the Wall Street Journal, and they talked about by 2025 or 2026, we're going to have an even bigger problem because now these companies have expanded. And we got to remember something too, is that this is going to, how it's going to affect the consumer is, I have an iPhone right here. Well, Apple is $1 trillion business. They're going after those same raw materials to make batteries for all their products that GM, Ford, and all these other manufacturers are going for their EVs. So that's going to cause the price to even go up from there because now you got a different consumer going after the same products that Apple hasn't had to bid against GM and Ford for battery production.
Well, now you're starting to get in the good stuff, and now we were just touching the tip of the iceberg with this. So the one thing that we all have are cell phones. It doesn't matter whether you have an Android, doesn't matter whether you have an Apple.
Yeah.
Guess what? Your cell phone's going up in price. I promise you.
Yep.
And here's some other things that are made from. So let's back up real quick. Let's talk about the different metals that are used in batteries. One of them, the biggest one is lithium. And we've all heard of lithium. When you go get an Energizer battery, that has lithium in there. When you have these rechargeable batteries, they have lithium. Your toothbrush has lithium. Your laptop computer has lithium. All of these things. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, there's other materials. We got cobalt, you got nickel. That's what, the Putin's war with Ukraine comes in because they're one of the largest suppliers of nickel. Well, there's only so much of this that we can dig out of the ground. So eventually the supply is going to run out. So now you got a huge supply cutoff. Well, everybody's scrambling to find a different supply because nobody's afraid to buy from Russia. Russia's been all these sanctions. So where do they go? Because there's only so much of that. Then you got graphite, you got copper. These are all natural resources. And believe me, none of these, that's great. EVs aren't producing CO2s out of the tailpipe. But believe me, to mine lithium is about as environmentally friendly as no different than making a gas car. It's not that much. And no, until they can make an EV battery CO2 proof, well, you're not doing any better harm for the environment.
Yeah. I use again that analogy of the lake and the sharks and everybody going for that same piece of meat, and someone's gonna lose hard.
Yeah.
And they're spending billions of dollars, and they're all betting. It's kind of like I don't know if you ever studied cryptocurrency, but
No, I don't. I don't know anything about
there's a
it.
lot of companies fighting for that same thing because they realize cryptocurrency is going to be the next big thing, and it really
Sure.
already is. But all these companies are all trying to come up with this new technology all at the same time. You have investors, you have multiple billions, if not possible, high billions of being put into this stuff, and someone's going to lose. And
Yeah.
I think that the big boys out there, like the GM and Ford, I think that they come out on top with this.
Yeah, the legacy
And
guys are going to come out on top. I mean, I agree, I really are. And unfortunately, your everyday consumer is going to be the loser because, GM and Ford's going to want to get their money back on their investment, and they're going to charge for that.
so I'm gonna drop another bombshell here for you. So, you might have some people say, well, very rarely this will happen, but I don't even have a cell phone, so that's not going to affect me. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you take prescription medication?
Yeah.
Because I hate to say, but these metals, they're in your prescriptions too.
Wow. I had no idea. I don't
Lithium,
take any
especially.
medication, so I don't know.
So
Um,
lithium, especially, and mental health is no joke. And so, like bipolar disorder.
wow.
Oh yeah, lithium is used,
Huh.
and so
Wow. Wow.
these are things that I think will be very helpful to the people listening. And then for those of you that are listening right now, please comment. Like, let us know. Put it in the comment section below. Let us know what you think of this. What's your opinion? I mean, we have some really, really loyal listeners, don't we, Dave?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I talk to a lot of my customers from the repair business. Say, I love your podcast, man. I listen to it every week. It's so educational and it's so informative because this is what we do. We live and breathe, automotive on all assets, and we know we do this because one, it helps us know how to pivot our businesses so we can stay afloat, and then two, to educate the consumer so they can make good decisions because this is stuff that your everyday people don't think about.
So let's talk about also, Dave, like in your business right now, what are your plans? How are you pivoting? And what is it doing like right now to the consumer, like places like Tesla, trying to, like, if something needs to get done, on how expensive it is to fix a Tesla, and only Tesla can do
Well, I
the
got friends
repair.
that got body shops, and you got to jump through all kinds of hoops to become a Tesla certified body shop. And in the event you have one that gets wrecked, good luck getting it fixed. That's where I think the legacy guys have a leg up is they have the infrastructure and the resources to take care of the consumer after the sale. Well, companies like Tesla don't. If you need one serviced, good luck getting it fixed. Good luck getting body work done on it. You can only take it, so many places. And I think that's where the big boys have a leg up on these startups is they have the infrastructure to take care of the customer after the sale. So also I saw Ford announced some training program for this was on LinkedIn for their dealership technicians to service their EVs after the sale. Because I think now is the worst time to buy an EV. Who can fix it? Who can service it? Do these dealership technicians at the legacy dealers have the know-how to fix one after the sale? Or are they going there, never seen one of these before? What do we do? We've all worked on internal combustion engines for decades. We can handle that no problem. But, I think the other side of this is in the event that an EV needs parts, are replacement parts available? Because they're going to break. They may
Mhm.
not break as often as a gas car, but they're still going to break. There's nothing's made to last forever. It just doesn't exist.
No, it's just different parts. That's all it is
Yeah.
that they're just different parts. Parts do wear out. Like, we know that for a fact. So it's going to be very, very interesting too. And I think you brought up a lot of good points. Is the fact that GM and Ford, they know how to handle this at scale, and that's really what they're trying to do is scale this. It's very hard to scale, like we talked about, when the precious metals that we need to make these batteries are not going to be as available as we would like. So, just like in any business, there's always challenges. You hit roadblocks, and you're going to see a lot of pivoting right now. And pivoting just means that when something doesn't work, you go do something else. And
Yeah.
that's what you do in business, and that's what you're going to see Ford and GM. And
They're
I
going to do
wouldn't
it slowly. They're not rushing into this because they know that doesn't work.
and even though we've hit Tesla pretty hard, I wouldn't be surprised if Elon Musk has something up his sleeve, and you don't know. And he may
No.
just not. It may not be his end game to continue to keep doing this. He may be doing something completely different. Who the heck knows? But all I know is we have experienced just craziness, all stemming from 2020 and a little thing called COVID that started this whole freaking debacle. And we don't know what's going to happen. We've made some predictions today. We think we know what's going to happen, but time will tell. And as we continue to keep moving down the road and learning more about this, we will educate you. And I just really wanted to just say a big thanks to all of our loyal listeners. I consistently get comments anywhere I go about the Auto Authorities podcast. We're not just this boring podcast that just boring. We educate you in a fun way, and hopefully Bobby is listening.
Yeah, we
Bobby,
haven't talked about Bobby. Hasn't been in an episode in a while. I kind of forgot
yeah,
about Bobby.
we need to bring Bobby into this because
Yeah,
Bobby's bound to make a bad decision here.
yeah. He's due for one. He's due for one. Guido hasn't got him over the ringer in a while.
Oh, Guido will get him. Guido will get him. But I think we've hit on enough things. You'll see how this is going to affect you. Do you have any other further things that you want to share, Dave, before
No,
we
I think that just keep listening. As this evolves, we're going to do our best to keep the consumer informed. Don't make any quick decisions. Do your homework. Do your research. And I tell everybody, don't buy an EV right now. Just wait till these guys have a better understanding. Because I'm telling you, they can do all the research and development they want. If you're going to buy anything, go buy a gas hybrid. That's the best way to go. I've owned one. They have half the maintenance of your typical gasoline car. And that's what's best right now. If you want to get the best bang for your buck, go buy not a plug-in hybrid, but a gas hybrid. That's where you get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, because what you're going to see, and Mr. David Marks brought it up today, is that there's going to be a big issue in servicing these vehicles. And especially as those parts become dwindled, Tesla owners are going to become more and more frustrated. And when they can't get their Tesla fixed.
Yeah, because the big boys know how to handle a gas hybrid. Dealer technicians, we know how to service them. I know how to service them. We service them. There's parts replacements. The whole process before and after the sale, they've got it down to a science. That's what's best right now is the gas hybrid.
I'm in 100% agreement with that. Is at least those have been around for a really, really long time. They'll get you probably 50 miles plus a gallon. So that will solve the issue with gas for right now. But other than that, Mr. David Marks, do you have anything else to share?
No, sir.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks again for listening to the Auto Authorities podcast. Go to theautoauthorities.com. That's theautoauthorities.com. Oh, crap. We forgot to give away our gift. I know everybody's listening. Okay. So if you're listening right now, take out your phone and type in the numbers 57838 on your text messaging program and text the word car. Text the word CAR, CAR, to 57838. You'll get our free ebook on how to buy a car without the nonsense and be alerted for all of our podcasts coming up in the future. And everybody have a great rest